What's up, everybody? Happy Good Friday. You're probably watching this Friday night. Pete and I have recorded the first couple episodes of the podcast. We're looking forward to that. We dropped the trailer earlier today. But a lot of you, since the Koberger update yesterday, have sent me yet another breaking news story from News Nation with more details connecting Brian Koberger to the Idaho 4 victims. I have not watched this clip together, or I've not watched this clip on my own. I figured we could watch it together. It's only about 5 minutes long, and see if these are any serious new details with new evidence that can connect him to this case. Is it a nothing burger? Is it just unconfirmed leaks? Because there is a gag order. So I don't know how they would. Here's what I've been told, right? And here's what the messages are saying on Instagram and Twitter, by the way, at Tragos Law. That's where you all send me these things, where I see them. And if enough of you send them, we're going to see the bat signal in the sky and come and do a video. But everybody's saying one of the IDs of the victims was found in his house. There's proof of cyberstalking. We've heard, inklings that he followed some of their social media pages. Does it rise to the level of cyberstalking? What new details do they have? Did they confirm an ID of one of the victims? That would be interesting, right? Because of the gag order, how are they getting this confirmation? So if you guys are still interested in this, which I think you are, because I'm still getting a lot of messages and questions about it, hit that like button. Subscribe to our page if you haven't already, because I like to keep the same people around and new people come in and give us their viewpoint on this. A lot of locals, a lot of people with different backgrounds. We have criminologists, law enforcement, lawyers, psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health counselors, all sorts of people that come in and give their opinion, or just people that know someone that's been accused of a crime, or know someone that suffers through something, or know someone that's been a victim or has been a victim themselves, right? And all those different perspectives are really helpful and important to this channel. So I appreciate everybody that joins the discussion, gets in the comments, gets in the chat, and subscribes to our page. So let's get to it. Let's hear what Chris Cuomo has to say about Brian Koberger and what new details we know.
Tonight, we have another exclusive set of details, and they go to two aspects. One, evidence of what was found in the places where he lived or he inhabited, okay, that may connect him to one of the victims. An ID was found connected to someone from the home in Moscow, Idaho.
An ID was found that connected him to some, and I think Chris Cuomo chooses his words carefully in these, because he says where he inhabited or lived, and then an ID that connected him to someone in the home of Moscow, Idaho, the victims. Doesn't say he's connected to the victims. Doesn't say it's a victim's ID. So I'm interested to hear what that is. And what does it prove? Well, at the very least, it proves maybe he has some kind of connection with somebody in that house. Even if it's not one of the victims, I think that could be this could be huge evidence, obviously. And I'm interested to hear where he got this information. So let's keep listening.
It was found during one of the searches of Koberger's residences, plural. So what does that mean? Well, either they found it in Washington, where he was just outside Moscow, Idaho, or in Pennsylvania. Police also believe they have evidence that could connect Koberger to what they are viewing as cyber stalking of someone from the Moscow residence.
And they keep calling it the Moscow residence, not one of the victims. So was he cyber stalking somebody else? And what new evidence is this? Because I thought, again, a lot of it was leaks, but maybe now we're hearing leaks of they're investigating his computers, his cell phones, his internet search history. Maybe they're getting a lot more information and he was cyber stalking them. Now, the definition of cyber stalking can actually be kind of vague, and just going to their sites all the time and always following them and looking at every picture. Potentially somebody could make the allegation of cyber stalking, although that would probably never get you convicted of it, without any other steps taken, or without the victim actually knowing that you're stalking them, right? But let's keep listening to what they have.
We've reached out to the police. Due to the gag order, they can't confirm this information. But does this answer two questions?
We know that they cannot confirm that they have, in fact, gotten this information from the search or from what they have. So because the gag order, if the police can't confirm it, then where are they getting this information? And should we be confident in it, that it is legit? By the way, I wanted to read the specific definition of cyberstalking so you can understand what I meant, that just because you're going to somebody's page doesn't mean it's cyberstalking, right? And even if you message them, it doesn't mean you're cyberstalking. Cyberstalking is the repeated use of electronic communications to harass or frighten someone. For example, sending threatening emails or threatening messages or grotesque messages or messages where you're, coming on to someone over and over again to the level that it does frighten them or harass them. And they ask you to stop. Unanswered messages usually is not cyberstalking. Telling a girl you like them, asking them out on a date, liking all of their pictures, usually not cyberstalking. But if we want hyperbole and we have this information that he was constantly going on one of their pages, and we're really speculating here, liking all of them, sending them messages, and they never respond, you can call it cyberstalking, but in reality, it's probably not. It's probably a dude trying to hit on a girl, And again, we talked about this before, that when the report came out about messages he was sending them, and none of them were threatening, none of them were even that weird. It was like, hey, how are you? Or even if he got rejected by her, we talked about how many dudes get rejected by girls every single day. We don't call that cyberstalking, and we don't call that a precursor to committing a crime like this.
Is it a smoking gun? I never really understand what that means. Obviously, is it the murder weapon?
Smoking gun means, just in case anybody else has trouble with this, we have a shooter, right? And after you fire the bullet, there's smoke that comes out of the gun. That's how you prove that the bullet was shot. Smoke coming out of the gun, that's the smoking gun. The gun that fired the bullet, to prove the case. That's the smoking gun analogy.
Weapon? Was it? No. But does it connect him to a group of people he had no business to be familiar with? And does it imply...
Gosh, I didn't realize I was going to be stopping it so much. Sorry if that's annoying you. Does he have a connection to people he had no business being connected to? So again, we've completely thrown out the idea or possibility that he was friends with one of them. And I realize that people in their lives say they never knew Bryan Kohberger, never met him, didn't know they were friends. I promise you, I had hundreds of friends in college that my parents didn't know and that my other friends didn't know, because one friend was friend from biology class. Another one was a friend from the gym or from intramural football or from, whatever, law school. Not everybody knows every single person you hang out with. So the fact that they follow them on social media, I mean, listen, all the ladies sliding into the DMs, we didn't have that back then when I was in college. We did have Facebook, and that was starting. And I was sliding in some instant messages, and people were sliding into my instant messages. But it's not like every single one of my friends knew every single person that followed me on Facebook or messaged me or whatever. So why do we say he has no business knowing these people? Now, having their ID in a glove, hidden in a box, which is what somebody told me on instant message on a DM. Now that could be different. That is very different. You shouldn't have somebody else's ID hidden in a glove, hidden in a box. So we'll see if we get there. But just having no business being connected to college students when you're a graduate student, I don't know. I should have no business being connected to 4 students in Idaho, I guess. But I don't know about him. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of a press.
That Kohberger may have had more people on his list, and that may be why they're investigating him, to see if they can connect him to any other situations. Let's bring in retired FBI agent and News Nation legal contributor Jennifer Coffindaffer and high-profile trial attorney Mark Garagos. To both of your reckonings, you're familiar with the reporting and the sourcing on this. I basically have it right, yes? Nods of the head is enough? Okay, so from the investigative side, look, Garagos hates doing anything that's favorable to me. You see that? Even nodding his head. He didn't really want to. He was fighting it. So from the investigative side, Jennifer Coffindaffer, let's start with you. You find ID from one of the victims in a place that was controlled, inhabited by Kohberger.
That's bad.
Let's start with that. How big a deal?
It's a big deal. That is a smoking license. Just like the sheath was a smoking.
That is a smoking license. It's like, yeah, that's not good. Is it a trophy? Is it something for him to remember them by? Obviously, that's not good. That is very damning evidence for Bryan Kohberger if they did, in fact, find the victim's ID at his place. Like, that's going to be near impossible to get around, in my opinion.
Sheath found next to Maddie with his DNA on that clasp. It's the same thing in this situation. Why would he have an ID related to one of those people from that house? And remember, we know that identifications were recovered from the glove box, and that was at the Pennsylvania search warrant. So interesting. We always wonder.
So that she says the ID was found in his glove box. Okay.
What were those identifications that they referred to?
What's the counter, Mark?
Well, the counter is we don't know if it's true yet. I think
That's a big one, right? That we lawyers always have to burst bubbles because it's like, well, are we just talking to talk, or is this real? Like, is this a real new report of new evidence? And he's right. It's like, well, first off, is it real? Let's start with that.
think part of the problem is when you put a gag order on stuff like this and you don't have a way for people to respond, you get us doing what we're doing now. I mean, I would much rather find out if in fact this is true. I would want to find out, number two, where it was found precisely, and I would want to know who it's of. And if you get if you assume all of those things are true, then I don't disagree with Kopfendeffer. It's a bad fact.
The idea that they have, what are they talking about, you think, Jennifer, in the universe of we have evidence that we believe shows that there was cyber stalking of him, of somebody else, either in that house or elsewhere? What?
All right. So I think I know what this is. I think they're reading through these documents, again, that were unsealed, the hundreds of pages, and they're trying to pick apart little things and make them into more than what they are. Because those documents did say that IDs were gathered, but they have added the part. And again, I'm not saying they're adding anything. My guess is they're getting this information given to them from someone. But now we're saying it's an ID from someone in that house. Not a victim necessarily, but someone in that house, which is much different than just an ID. Or if it's an ID from some other unsolved case, also important, right? But this evidence of cyberstalking, again, I think goes back to what we already know, that he was messaging them and maybe following them. But I'd be interested to know if people think you can really cyberstalk someone if they don't even know that you're cyberstalking them. Are you harassing them? I mean, I guess you can threaten them without them knowing that they're threatened, I guess, based on your words. Like, objectively, certain words are threatening. But that's just, to me, it's weird. Like, how are we gonna prove this at this point? But let's hear what she has to say.
Kind of things might they be talking about?
Well, again, to Garagos's point, if that's true, why do people stalk? They stalk because they're feeling persecuted, and this is a way that they can exact their revenge. The same reason why people commit these types of heinous murders. All it means is pursuing stealthily. So this would line up completely with the crime he is accused of committing.
And by the way,
wrong, Mark?
It fits right in with Jennifer's theory from last night too. So she's really building quite a true crime manifesto here.
Exactly. Once they have a theory, right? Stuff gets put into it, gets added to it. They continue to build, they continue to stack. And that's what's happening, right? They're going to make it fit into this box. Anything they can, they're going to make it sound, oh yeah, that's right in with our theory. Just like he's saying, build the manifesto.
I can't wait for the book.
Yeah,
I'm going to need her on the podcast. The idea of is it fair to argue, counselor, at this point, even if both of these things are true, I'm more worried about the ID being in something of his control or possession than I am of the cyber stalking, because you could be into somebody and and looking at him a little bit too closely for somebody.
That's not cyber stalking, though. That's why I read the definition, right? That is not cyber stalking. Liking someone, following them, looking at their pictures, liking their pictures is not cyber stalking.
Else's comfort, but it doesn't mean you killed him.
That's exactly right. Because if you've got something, I'm going to guess, and Jennifer, you can slap me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess that she would then say, look, if Pennsylvania turns out that they find things and he's connected to other crimes, this is what serial killers do. They have trophies. They take a trophy, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
This is like a true crime, I don't know, to exponential levels. So that is what the argument would be. And that's I'll give you this. If any of this is true, it's a very difficult hurdle for the defense.
Hey, thank
Again, so I mean, these new reports to me, they're unsubstantiated. We don't know if they're true. And there are a million different explanations, some of which will make them relevant to the case and prove guilt potentially. Other explanations that would be totally innocent or be like, it was an ID of someone that we don't know who it is. Is that weird? Yes. But that's not coming in at trial. If he has John Smith's ID in his glove box, that's not coming in this trial. If John Smith, of course, is not a missing person or part of another unsolved mystery or something like that. So it could be totally irrelevant to this. And also, if I was his lawyer and he liked a bunch of her pictures and followed her or whatever, one of the victims, I would go through and see how many females he followed and liked their pictures. So if anything happened to any of them, is now Brian Kober, or I'd go even better probably and go to the victim's Instagram or whatever and see how many guys follow her and how many guys like all of her pictures. Are all of them suspects? Now, of course, you stack up the DNA on the sheath and all the extra things that connect Brian Kober to this. I get it. But these individual things are not necessarily smoking guns, as they're saying. But let's wait and see. All right. Let's wait and see. Like we've said a bunch of times, a bunch of you sent this to me, figured we talk about it. And it's a good transition into more stuff like this is going to come out in the podcast where we talk about inadmissible evidence, conspiracy theories, what people are saying, unsubstantiated claims. We're going to save most of that for the podcast. So in the future, most of that's going to be on the podcast because we're going to try to stick to the facts on here. We're going to stick to what's coming in a trial breakdowns, case breakdowns, reading probable cause affidavits, things like that. But so many of you have questions like this. I thought it was kind of a cool transition as next week we begin our new podcast, Opening the Door, with myself and Pete Sardis. So thanks for joining me tonight. Hit that like button. Hope everybody has a wonderful Easter and a great weekend. And we'll be back next week. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Tragos Law is our handle. And don't forget to listen to the Lawyer You Know podcast featuring new episodes every week. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, the Lawyer You Know.